What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Tottenham Talk. This week's weekly roundup, or shall I say, therapy session, will be kind of a mix of all sorts. We don't have a set plan to discuss because, honestly, we're at a loss of words right now. And it's kind of hard to do a podcast without words. So we're going to make do and we're going to do our best, but got to get it out there. I don't think anyone's happy.
Do our best. Love it.
And we'll try and please you guys. But like I said, a lot of times this fun therapy session we've got for you is going to be kind of just all of us trying to work together, work through this, and keep on supporting the team that we love because we have to, right? We signed a contract. That's just the way it works. Life binding contract. But let's get into it. So Tottenham are in a state of shambles, to put it lightly. Matt, start us off. I think we're going to probably, to give us a little more structure, I think we'll probably talk about Nuno. We'll probably talk about Nuno and out. I think Harry Kane's important. And then any positives we can take? I don't know. Is there a positive? What is a positive at this point? But get started, Matt. Talk about Nuno.
I like Nuno. I don't think he's necessarily the whole issue in terms of why we're losing, but I do not agree with necessarily who he has started in the past now. Has been pretty consistent in his midfield. And
well, it's pretty clear he's trying to figure something out, right?
He's
gone with Winks and Skip, Højbjerg, Dele, Celso, Højbjerg, Dele, Tanguy. He's instituted Tanguy now. So there's a lot of midfields that he's going through. And I think you're right. He's trying to figure something out.
I don't think, though.
What is the best midfield for you right now?
I don't think you can do Dele and Tanguy. Well, maybe you can. The only issue.
Here's the thing: is Dele's role has changed, right? Dele used to be a Tanguy, a type of Tanguy, right? Back in his glory days.
Yeah.
Now that's not his role, and people got to accept that. You look at some of the people that Dylan, one of our good friends, who's a big Spurs fan. We call him the Grumpy Spur. He hates Dele right now. Not hates, obviously, but in the way he's playing, he doesn't think he deserves a spot on the team, and he might be right. After yesterday, 100% is right. But Dele's role right now is not what it used to be. Dele has a role of being a box-to-box fighter, almost what Skip's role would be. So the question has to be asked: is Dele the right answer for that, or is Skip? Because Dele has looked good the past few weeks. Maybe not the past few weeks. Beginning of the season. In terms of work rate, in terms of playing for the badge, in terms of, winning the ball back and just keeping it simple stuff like that. Even good through balls. Midweek, he had a great through ball for Kane's goal against Wolves. A great ball. So there is something to be said about Dele's new role, and it's not going to be that creative, all eyes on me type of play. So, but now we got to ask that question, Matt. If that's not the case, is he worth playing? Because we have Oliver Skip, who I think can disrupt the play very well and keep the ball very well. What are your thoughts on that?
I still think Skip's got stuff to learn, but he's got to play more. In this time, I think Nuno is also trying to put in a lot of his youngsters, try more of the youngsters.
Yeah.
I think that's because we have really good, homegrown talent, AKA Skip being one and Kane being another. We can produce, good players, but, I wonder, what goes through Nuno's mind when it comes to, games like the Derby, when, you put in a midfield three that just looks weak.
Okay. Do you think that looks weak with Dele, Tanguy, and Hodge?
Yeah, I thought it was weak.
Well, what's your preferred midfield?
I just don't think we have a strong midfield. In general,
it's not necessarily the wrong choices. It's not.
General. Correct. It's not necessarily the issues on his part. Like I think lack a center defensive mid, who we still haven't got. And you wonder why. And we have consistent issues in the midfield, and it's just reflected on that. That holding, that pivot that we don't have.
Right.
And there's likes of Kessié, filling that next year, something like that. But that's a whole other story.
Right.
Now you wonder. Well, how can we overcome that now if we can't fill in that position with a player? And I think that maybe is a formation change, or honestly, sometimes it's trial and error, and that's kind of what Nuno's doing. But you can't necessarily do trial and error every fucking game and every game in the Premier League.
If
Sorry.
that doesn't, it does.
I'm just frustrated, man.
If that doesn't quantify where we're at right now.
And like you look against when we played Rennes, and this was a couple weeks ago, but our midfield three was shambles. Like it was a terrible starting lineup. And then same thing with Crystal Palace. Like I'm questioning Nuno in terms of why he's starting certain players, but like I think overall his tactics are, solid. I think we can do well with what he's trying to train and teach us, but I don't think we're lacking. I think we're lacking the passion. We're lacking the heart in the game, and you can see it just in Kane's, body language. And it's unfortunate because you got guys like Son and Brian Hill who, play with passion, and no matter the circumstances, they're always busting their ass off. And I don't understand why Brian Hill hasn't had a start yet. In games like that, those
Totally
are the
agree.
type of games that young guys like him, make a debut and, make a name for themselves, like Emile Smith-Rowe is a great example, and I don't understand, what Lucas or, and Bergwijn's out as well. I don't get why Hill's not being put into the lineup when you have Lo Celso starting on a right wing position. It makes no sense.
And that's the thing is that I'd even rather have Lo Celso than Lucas at this point, because Lucas did not look. Lucas is, I wouldn't say only attribute, but his best attribute is always his work rate. And yesterday, his work rate was non-existent. So let's talk about. You mentioned he's doing a little bit of trial and error. Let's go back to the Crystal Palace game. His starting midfield was Winks, Skip, and Højbjerg. Now we're dealing with injuries, and he put Dele at the left wing spot because Son wasn't available. But that is not a strong midfield. I'm all for. I'm not. I shouldn't say that. I was all for giving Harry Winks a chance, but there's got to be a point where it's too much. And I think he hit that point because he started Winks that game and then was like, you know what, that's it. We can't afford to do that anymore. So moving forward, let's go to the Chelsea game. Okay, starting midfield for that was Højbjerg, Tanguy, and Dele. Same one.
Before you get to the Chelsea game, like our first step against Chelsea, I was like, this is a new team,
right? So
it was a game of like we played like we were capable of winning it, and the next thing you know, it's just we got shit on.
And another example is like, but that's the same midfield that we started with yesterday, and I don't know what to do because, and it's tough in Nuno's position because you field a team 1 week that plays so well in that first half, and say whatever you want about the second half, but do you play that same team because they can do it? And he did, and it didn't work. Like not even close. It wasn't even close to the same thing, and so he's in a tough spot, I think. And let's go back to kind of your points on whether we support or don't support Nuno at this point. I agree. I think his tactics and his lessons that he's trying to implement into this team, his team culture is what he wants the team to represent and the club to represent are good. I think he has good intentions, and I think he can implement that well. He's struggled to do that because of injuries, because of Euros, because of this and that, but he's got to find a lineup, more specifically a midfield, and stick with it. I wish we could take it to the whiteboard. Maybe that's something we can implement in further episodes, but let's look at other options, right? Okay, this is not working. 1 week it works, 1 week it doesn't, one half it works, one half it doesn't. And you're right, our midfield is weak. So what do we have right now? We actually have extra outside backs and defense. Like our defense is our strong side right now, in all honesty. But we're not even using Romero. Like he didn't start. Like what is that about? So why is Nuno not, in my opinion, looking at going to a 3-back with wing backs so we can push up? You throw 3 in the back with Dyer, Romero, and Sanchez, who have all been playing relatively well this season, including yesterday. Maybe not Sanchez as much. But they still made great saves and stops. And our defense has been probably our strongest point if you look at it. What's up?
Your mic.
My mic again.
Is that better?
Yep.
Okay. Sorry, I had some technical difficulties with the microphone. Okay, so as I was saying, let's look at our defense, Tanganga included. Let's throw a 3-back of Dyer, Romero, and Tanganga, and then throw Reggie and Emerson on the wing backs, And then we don't have to worry as much about who's going to be those center mids because, he's trying to find people that will hold us down defensively, but also be able to play. And we don't really have that. So 3-5-2, throw that up there, So I think he needs to start looking at different systems because this system of the 4-3-3, I don't think it's working. What are your thoughts?
I would agree with that. I think a 3-back would be ideal for the players we do have in utilizing those wing backs, and how Nuno played back at Wolves, I think was pretty deadly. And I think that could transition into how Spurs could play.
Totally.
But I think it could even be that much better than what Wolves produced
Totally.
when they first got promoted to the Prem. But it's really frustrating seeing it because, like, with all the insight that we give and what we talk about, what changes and what will change, and what we can hope for. The the other underlying issue that I have seen consistent is, why do we have Romero not starting in games like
definitely.
He was a $55 million. Well, he is on loan essentially, technically, and with buy option or whatever. But you have center back like him who's not starting, and then we've talked about Hill not starting, and another player that I have kind of been all about in the past, but now it's kind of just been like mediocre, is Lo Celso. And
yeah. I mean, Lo
I
Celso.
want to talk about him in terms of what has he done, and it's got to a point where there's about only a handful of guys on the team who are pretty consistent and pretty likable.
I don't even know if it's a handful, to be honest.
It might not even be a handful.
I'd say maybe 2 or 3.
And
that's Son, Højbjerg, and Hugo.
I was gonna say Hill.
Yeah, I mean he hasn't really gotten a chance to be consistent,
That's
but
fair.
yeah.
But I see a lot of hate with Pierre.
Yeah, I mean he's always gonna get that, I think.
But Pierre's not a DM.
Exactly.
And he would be someone next to a DM, and he would just kind of be like a floating, almost like a Conte. How Conte plays under Tuchel, I think, is kind of how Højbjerg will play if we did have a pivot, which we don't have.
Right.
And it shows. I mean, we've lost 3-0, 3-0, 3-1. And it's unacceptable. And I mean, I saw a stat that said we're the second team in history to go win, 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 loss, loss, loss.
Don't you love the records we break?
Of course, that'd be us, right?
Don't you love the records we break? I mean, who needs trophies? We can just break records like that.
Great record.
Best start and then worst start at the same time.
It's it's so frustrating as a fan, of course, and obviously as a podcaster to want to chat about this when you have such a passion for the game and for the team, and they're not performing to the quality they can, and especially when you were a fan in the past when we were phenomenal, under Poch,
We've seen it. It's crazy. We've seen an interesting journey, and maybe that's part of growing up and being a fan of a team for a significant period of time. But we saw them at an okay level, elevated to what they were, maybe you could say our peak, especially in the last 2 decades, and then now dropping off to what seems almost lower than when we first started watching them almost a decade ago.
Yeah, and
over a decade ago. So,
but I don't think Nuno is the underlying issue here. I don't think he's
I agree. It's hard.
Problem solver.
Yeah.
And it's just funny how some social media platforms work with all the hate about him, and then the moment he does something good, praise Nuno, and that's with kind of anything, but
right.
It's what I would like to start seeing is change it up a bit. There's nothing at this point. He's got really nothing to lose, and I mean, obviously, games, but we don't want to lose games.
Right.
But in games like bottom half teams, even in mid-table teams, heck, even in top 4 teams, there's no reason I don't think you shouldn't be. There's no reason to not start Hill, or maybe even put in Dane Scarlett sometime. I don't know. I mean, you have Harvey Elliott at Liverpool starting, and Curtis Jones in the past who started, and these guys have really put set a name to them, and now they're almost, sporadic players, and it's getting to a point where, more depth is, on Liverpool's side here. And that just comes with growing the club and growing the youth guys that you have, and not always play, if someone's playing poor, well, where's the discipline and, the consequences, and don't play that guy, play someone else until that person can get back into form if they're playing better in training or whatnot. We have enough games to rotate the squad well enough to get almost a lot more people playing time, to kind of see what works and what doesn't, but at the same time getting results.
Right.
So I don't get why he doesn't switch it up. I don't get why we don't do maybe like a 3-5-2 type action and maybe run Dane, Scarlett, and Kane up top together. Try something a little different. It spice it up a bit. I feel like it's so bland and static, just soccer, which is causing us to watch a dreadful game, and we end up with a unfortunate result.
Yeah.
But it's not a result that you go in thinking, oh, we're going to win this game. You can tell the first 5-10 minutes of the game that we're going to get demolished.
I know.
We absolutely did, and Kane didn't do absolutely.
So let's move on that. So, maybe we'll wrap up the episode with this, because like you said, I don't think there's much long to talk about this. More of a therapy session, as I've said. But I agree. I think Nuno is a good answer for us. Maybe he's not a Conte that we wanted earlier, or a Ten Hag, or maybe any of that. But I think Nuno is a great answer to the problems our club was having. Now, we are not solving those problems right now, and maybe it's because players aren't buying into the system, or they're just not performing in the system. And there's a fine line between, we got to switch something up, we got to try something out, yes, but if the players aren't executing on the plan, it doesn't matter what system we're running. It's just not going to work if the players aren't executing.
I'm going to stop you quick because I just got a notification of Brighton and Crystal Palace and their lineups, and I was just curious because I'm a big Graham Potter fan, and I think Brighton's pretty damn good. If they win this game, they're top of the table. But
yeah,
they're running a 3-4-1-2.
Yeah,
like I would not
3-5-2
be against something that with Tottenham. Like
totally
I don't
agree.
What and like it's like in Crystal Palace is running the typical 4-3-3. So I know that formation's common, common Dutch formation, but if we're going to consistently, or not consistent, if we're going to continue running the 4-3-3 formation, and it's not producing what we want it to do, and like I would even argue when we won 1-0, like 2 of those games were fluke 1-0s.
Yeah.
And we ran I don't think the 4-3-3 has shown our best capabilities. And
no, I think you're right, and I think
and then you wonder under Nuno, okay, well if that's look at the data behind it. You've played 6 games and you scored 3 and conceded 9. 4. You scored 4 and conceded 9. So you wonder, okay, well maybe defensively we're not doing so well. Okay, well let's change that.
I'd argue differently. I think our only strong point right now is our defense. Our defense and Son. That's our strong point. And what the issue becomes when you're pestered for 85% of the game, but all it takes is 2 or 3 slips and you're in and you're scored. And you could argue 3 goals. That's a lot of mistakes, but I don't know. I just have a good feeling I'm more confident in our defense than I've ever been in the past couple of years. And for us to have to, for our defense to be our best part right now, when we have Harry Kane up top, that's a little scary. So let's use those advantages. Like you said, let's create a system that is benefiting us. Let's not make our team fit a system. So if in that 3-5-2 or like Brighton's 3-4-1-2 or whatever, we got our 3 backs, Dyer, Romero, and Tanganga. I think that's super strong. I think that is very strong. And then you got in our midfield, Emerson Royale as that right back, who also sometimes plays right wing, so even better. And then Sergio, who needs to step his game up, by the way, because he is nowhere near what he was when we first bought him in terms of attacking confidence and attacking threat. when we first bought him, the link ups he had with Bale in terms of taking the guy on and serving a cross in, he doesn't do that ever again, ever. And all he does is run chaotically up the field and lose the ball. So, number one, he's got to pick his game up. And number two,
periodically and lose or chaotically and loses the ball.
it's true. We're getting it out. We're getting it out on the table right now. So, and then you got Højbjerg and Skip as those two. And then you got Tanguy up top and giving him more freedom, and Son and Kane up top. And I think that is a great lineup. I really do, because it gives so much more freedom for our outside backs to get up. Let's use our defense. Let's let them have more freedom. And let's not let it get to a point where we're having to react defensively. Three in the middle is so tough because you're almost always outnumbered unless you're so composed from the way you press that it never gets to the midfield.
And in a 4-3-3, your biggest threat is your midfield.
It should be. It should be.
It should be, yeah. Like, that's why Liverpool was so good a couple of years ago, and they still are. Was their midfield was their best? And that was a shocking part, is because a lot of people thought, they need to upgrade their midfield, but their midfield constantly, if they lost the ball or anybody on the team lost the ball, their midfield got it back within seconds and controlled the game. And we don't have that. And we
incredibly composed, and we don't.
Wonder, well, we need to switch it up a bit, and I think there's some formations out there that we could easily run, but we just don't.
Totally. So that's where we're at, guys. Let us know what you're thinking. Okay. When we send out this episode tweet, let us know what we're thinking. Comment below, and let's all chat about this. So we also started a Tottenham Talk Reddit page, which we talked about. Join that, and we'll have live game chats. So we can all talk about the game while it's happening, whether that's needing to console each other or we can cheer together. Hopefully it'll be cheer together in the future. But right now it looks like we're needing to console each other. So thank you guys for listening. Like we said, we had big news last week. We're actually bringing on another player to our Tottenham Talk team, Jack Weissenmeyer, and he is going to join us and be the host of our second series episode, The Great Debate, which we're going to try and get started here in the next couple of weeks or so. But stay tuned for that, because we're still trying to grow this thing, no matter how bad Tottenham are at the moment. So keep that in mind. Keep supporting the team, and let's try to stay positive, because, well, I can't even say that at this point. But keep your head up.
You know what we can do? I guess good wise and bad wise.
What?
Just in general, what we can do. Like,
oh yeah, we know there's good to be had, and we know it's somewhere around there.
But we're at such a low point. I don't know if we've hit rock bottom, but we're right there.
If we haven't hit rock bottom, I'm terrified of what rock bottom is.
Right.
So let's change it up. Let's go on this week strong, and hopefully our Spurs can bail us out of this misery coming up. So, like I said, check us out on Reddit. We're going to make a Discord too. We want this community to grow. We want to be a community for all American Spurs fans and all Spurs fans, but specifically American, because we're trying to grow this game over here and help the beautiful game. It's helped us in so many ways. We want to help other people. So keep that in mind. Check that out. Join it. Let's chat. Let's talk. Let's vent to each other. So thank you guys for listening. Check us out on all platforms, _Tottenham _talk. And as always, come on, you Spurs.